All right, welcome back. We're going to move on to Lab 4 now, and Lab 4 has 3 parts. We're going to start working on part 1 of 3. Data classification. This is really how you can use your attributes, and this is actually a lab on attribute data structure. How to use attributes to symbolize your maps in different ways. And this is a really good intro into data classification methods. You'll want to remember all this stuff for your future maps in this course. And so you'll want to go through and read all the data classification methods. Well, bless you. That was my dog. If you heard that in the background, there's data classification methods. Okay, you'll want to go through and read some of this stuff here. You can hit pause if you haven't read this stuff. You can watch this video here. It's all good stuff. It's theoretical, but you'll want to pick up that theory. So when you are done reading through all that stuff, we're going to download this stuff right here. Okay, downloading this data should be pretty much second nature for you right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and download this zip file. Come on, download it. If it works. There they go. All 4 of them. Okay, we're going to go in and we've already cleaned that up, so we're going to go in, show folder. Here's that zip file, so we're going to cut this, bring it into documents, ArcGIS 3500. We're going to call this Lab 4. Lab 4. Make a folder called data. We'll store that zip file there, so we'll right click, hit paste. We're going to unzip this, extract all, hit extract. We've done this several times before, so shouldn't be anything new. We'll go in and look at our data here. We see there's a big old shapefile here. All right. We'll just minimize that, and we will, hopefully you have Arcmap open. If you do not, there it is. If you haven't done anything in Arcmap since our last session, you'll want to go back into data view over here. You're still in layout view. You want to go into data view. So we'll go back into data view. See, we have a blank map. And we're going to go ahead and go into the first set of instructions. This is 1 of 3, classifying features by standard methods. So this is going to use crime data for Texas counties stored in the Texas Crime County folder. And so we've got our map open. I'm on number 1, and we're going to add Texas County Crime Shapefile. So we'll add that however we need to. I'm going to go here, here, here. We're going to go into, there we go. Lab 4, data, Texas County Crime, shapefile. Hit add. There it is. It's a nice, a nice map of Texas counties. But we're going to check out the attributes. And in number 2, it says in the table of contents, we're going to open the attribute table. So we're going to right click on that and open attribute table. There's our attributes right here. And you can scroll around, look at some of the fields, some of the attributes here. You'll see county name. Here's your county name. It's got population here, crime data from, I don't know, I guess it's aggravated assault, arson. Yeah, but they've got, these are the numbers of, these instances of, these crime instances in these counties. So in Anderson County, we'll just follow that across. They had, 200 in 1994. They had 220 instances of aggravated assault. In 2002, they had 100. And they had 21 cases of arson in 94. They had 12 cases in 2002, and so on, so forth, all the way down like that. So we'll clear that selection here, and so we have a good idea of what the attribute, what attributes are in here now. We're going to go ahead and, number 3 says close the attribute table. And in the table of contents, we'll double click the crime layer, or the crime county, Texas County crime layer to open the layers property dialog box. And we'll click on the Symbology Tool. Number 4 says under show, click quantities. It's right here. Here's show, here's quantities. Click on that. And it says the graduated colors option of the quantities method is highlighted. That's the graduated colors right here, right? The dialog box has changed. The value list shows the available attributes, numeric fields only. So yeah, you can only do numeric fields with this type of symbolization. So in the fields frame, which is this section here, we'll click the value arrow and we'll go to BURG02, burglary 2. So let's find that. That's right here. And it says the burglary 02 field represents burglaries for each county in 2002. Right. By default, the values are grouped into 5 classes, and these are the classes right here. If you've taken statistics, you probably understand what classification of classes are, okay? It does it using a method called natural breaks. You should have gone over natural breaks in the previous reading. Your color will probably look different than the example in your instruction. The color ramp is automatically assigned by Arcmap, but you can change this however you need to. And so in number 6 it says we're going to change the color ramp. So we're going to click this color ramp arrow here and click the blue light to dark ramp. Let's see if we can find it. This might be fun to find. Blue light dark. I believe that's this one here. Yeah, that's not perfect, but that's good enough. It says to find it by name, right click the color ramp, color bar, and choose graphic view to turn off that view. Blue light to dark. Hey, I guessed it right. So this gives you just names. If you didn't want to do it like that, you can go back to graphic view, make it like that. So we'll hit OK to close the layers property dialog box. Hey, and it classified everything according to color here. And what happens is, these are the burglaries that occurred in 2002. So if we look at, that's Dallas County right here, we can see that that is a high classification right there. And we can even click on the Identify tool here and find out. Burglary 02, they had 28,835 burglaries in Dallas County. And so that number falls within this range right here, so it's given this color, right? Let's go to a different one. Let's click Rockwall County here and check that out. It's Rockwall County, and we'll scroll down to burglary 02. There's 287 burglaries. That corresponds with this color right here, and so that's why it's assigned that color. And same for Chambers County. We've got 243. That color corresponds with this right here. So that's how all that works. Okay? So there's the quiz question 1 asks, the number of counties in each class is different. Based on the map visualization, which 2 counties have the highest values? What you basically have to do is just look at this color here and figure out which of these counties fall within that color. Pretty easy stuff. You'll want to write these answers down, and you'll put these in on your quiz on the next page. All right, so moving on to number 7. In the table of contents, open the properties of the Texas Crime County layer and click on the Symbology Tool if it's not already active. So we double click that. Here we go, Symbology is active. In the classification frame, that's this right here. We're going to click the classes arrow and change that to 3 classes. We've got 3 classes here now, right? And it says the number of classes and their value ranges are adjusted. So if you look at this right here and compare these two, you can see that there's a different range right here, right? So it says click apply and move the layer properties dialog box away from the map display. So hit apply and watch these colors change. Yeah, now we have the huge majority of Texas, that falls in that first set, right? So you can see how that changes things up. Remember, we only had like a Dallas over here was the only dark blue. And now we've got Tarrant County falls in there too. And that's because that range changed right here. Okay, so the instruction says the map reflects a new classification. The highest burglaries class now contains 4 counties. Right, that's, I think this is Bexar County, Harris County, Tarrant, Dallas. Many counties that previously belonged to separate classes are now grouped together. And that's true, we saw that happen. Okay, so we'll move this back over and it says on number 9 in the instruction, on the Symbology tab in the classification frame, click Classify. The classification dialog box displays the current classification method and the number of classes. This is a classification method, number of classes. And you can see the count, min max, sum, median, standard deviation within the burglary 2002 field. In the break values box, you can see the upper threshold, so 0 to 160 or 1,564. And then it's going to start with 1,065 to 8186. It's going to start with 8187 and go to 39275, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let you read that part of the instruction on your own. It's going to talk to you about the histogram frequency distributions chart. And so moving on to number 10, in the break values box, click at the first break at 1564. It says many of the gray columns are grouped within the first class. This means there's a high count of counties with fewer than 1,564 burglaries. Exactly 228 counties. There's 228 of 254 counties. Texas has 254 counties. 228 of those fall within that first break value from 0 to 1,564. So, quiz question 2 asks you how many elements or features, remember these are elements right here, right? How many features are in the other classes? You can figure that out on your own using what we just did. Okay, so in the columns box, on number 11 in the instruction, in the columns box, change the default value of 100 to 25. Oh, let me bring that back up. 25, there we go, okay. In the classification frame, click the method arrow. We're going to change this to equal interval. And this is a different method of classification. It says the class breaks are now equally divided, but still in 3 classes. 1, 2, 3 classes. These are your break values, right? So you have 1, 2, 3 classes. Almost all of the values fall into the first class, right? Unlike the natural breaks method, with equal interval classification, it is still possible to have classes that have no values. So quiz question 3 asks, choose equal interval as a classification method to set the number of classes to 4. What is the first break value? You can do that all right here. I'm not going to answer that for you because it's easy. Write down your answers. You're going to put it in the quiz that comes up next. So number 12 in the instruction says, in the classification frame, click the method arrow and choose quantiles. Quantile, right here. Quantile method creates classes that have an equal number of features. Nothing difficult about that. Yeah, that's pretty easy to figure out there. We're gonna click OK to close the classification dialog box. It says the current classification settings are updated to reflect the quantile method. We hit OK. There we go. We're going to click Apply and move the Layer Properties dialog box away from the map display. You can see how that changed it all up, right? Now there's lots of these. And that's because there are an equal amount of counties within each classification. So if I divided all these up, there would be, this many counties classified as, in this dark blue, the same amount of counties in this medium blue, and the same amount of counties in this light blue. And that's what that means for quantile. So on number 14 in the instruction, it says, on the Symbology tab, click Classify. And on the classification dialog box or method, click Natural Breaks, Jinx. Change the number of classes to 7. And we'll click OK. And so quiz question 4 asks, choose Natural Breaks as the classification method for the field Larceny 94. Set the number of classes to 4. What is the first break value? Pretty easy to figure out using, what we just did. You can change it here, or you can go into Classify and do that here. You need to just list the first break value. I'd probably do it here, just so we see the break values. Okay, so it says, go ahead and cancel out of this. It says save your work as lab 4_1. So we're going to navigate to lab 4. We'll save this as lab 4_1.mxd. You can type .mxd if you need to. We'll hit save, and then you're going to go on and fill out your quiz using the information you just wrote down. Okay, so after you finish your quiz, we're going to go on to the second part of the 3-part instruction for mapping. This will be mapping density. In this part, we're going to create thematic maps for a crime mapping project. It says in part 1 of 3, we saw how crime can be mapped to show areas of high and low burglary incidents by applying different classification methods. Counties don't all have the same population. Dallas County has over 2.2 million people, and El Paso County has just over 655,000. Which one is more densely populated? So we're going to learn how to map density in this lab. So with your instruction pulled up and Arcmap open over here, if you are still working on lab 4.1, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new map document. If you have closed it out, just start a new map file. But we're still working through, so I'm going to click on this. We'll do a new blank map. You can also hit File, New. Does the same thing. So we'll hit OK, and we've got a new blank map. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, go back into here, add data. We're working with that Texas crime, county crime. We're going to add that. And it says to add it twice, so we'll just go ahead and it twice. And now we've got two instances of Texas county crime. And so we're going to make a population density map that's overlaid with a dot density map of motor vehicle deaths. So we're going to rename this data frame here. This is a data frame, in case you didn't remember. We're going to call this motor theft per capita. Motor theft per capita. And then we're going to rename these to Texas County Crime 1 and Texas County Crime 2. So both ways of renaming there, just for the people who are doing it in different ways. Okay, so we're going to open on number 3 in the instruction here, it says open the Texas County Crime 2 layer attribute table. That's a mouthful. So we'll open the attribute table here. And so it has the population right here, right? It says the population attribute contains the population count for each county. The area per square mile attribute contains the size of each county in square miles. We're going to divide the population attribute by the area square mile attribute to create a ratio of population density for each county. Kind of sounds complicated, it's really not. So we're going to move on to number 4. Let's close the attribute table and double click the Texas County Crime 2 layer. And then we're going to go into Symbology. There's Symbology. Under Show, we're going to hit Quantities. Graduated Colors comes up as your default. Fields frame, when click the value arrow, click Population. And click the normalization arrow and click area square miles. Normalization is just another word for creating a ratio, and that's what we're doing here. We're dividing the population attribute by the area per square mile attribute. It's creating a ratio. That's what normalization is. It creates a ratio. Okay, so it says to set the color ramp to red, light to dark. So we're going to turn that off, and we're going to define red, light to dark. That one. There we go. So we have red, light to dark. The natural breaks classification method is shown, and 5 classes are defined. In this column, the values are rounded, but the decimal places are not consistent. Okay. So click the label column heading and click Format Labels. On the number format dialog box, select the number of decimal places and change it to 2. Number of decimal places, not significant digits. Bring that down to 2, and we'll click OK to close the dialog box, and we see that changed over here, and we've got 2 decimal places now. We can click OK to close the Layers Property dialog box, and we will select the checkbox next to the Texas County Crime 1 to hide the layer. And that's what it ends up looking like. And it asks, what are the 3 counties with the greatest population density? You can use the Identify tool to answer that question. If you don't know what the counties are, what they're called. I think most Texas residents know that. But there are 3 counties here. You need to say which 3 counties have the greatest population density. If you don't know those counties, use your Identify tool. But it says graduated colors are a way to represent density. Another way is to use a dot density map. So we're going to turn on, in number 7 in instruction, we're going to turn on the Texas County Crime 1 layer to make it visible again. We're going to open the Texas County one crime properties, and we'll go into the Symbology tab. We'll click quantities, and we're going to choose dot density. In the field selection list, we're going to scroll down. We're going to click MV theft 02. So let's find that. MV motor vehicle theft 02. And we're going to click this arrow right here, and we're going to add it to, that'll add it to a list over here. See that? And those motor vehicle thefts are going to be represented by this dot. So you're going to see it come up on your map over here. It's a dot. If you happen to click, this one right here, and it adds in here, you can just take that, and it'll bring it back this way. Because that's what these these arrows really do. Is it says, hey, move this over here. So but we only want this one right here. Okay, so we're going to double click this symbol right here. And that'll bring us up. That'll bring up the symbol selector for us, and we're going to change that. We're going to click this chip right here, and we're going to select black. That one right there. We'll hit OK, and we can see that turned that black. That's going to show up a lot better on that white background rather than that green color, right? So it says in the background frame, that's this right here. Click the line button. And for the color chip, we're going to pick no color because we don't want a color on it. And that it says that will prevent the county lines from appearing. And so in the densities calculated frame, we're going to click the horizontal slider and move it from right to left. And you'll see that this is the densities calculated frame right here, right? So we're going to click the slider. We can move it left and right. And it gives you an idea of what the density is going to look like. In the dot value box, that's the dot value box, we're going to change the value to 100. And we're going to click OK. A dot value of 100 means each dot represents 100 motor vehicle thefts. You could change that to 1,000, you could change it to 2, you could change it to whatever. But as long as you know, you have to remember what that dot value stands for. Okay, so we're just going to click OK. And there's our dots right there. Quiz question 2 asks, create a layout showing a population density map that is overlaid by a dot density map of motor vehicle thefts. Which of the following shows the correct map out of lab 4, 2 of 3, mapping density? All right. So what you're trying to do on this is, it's asking you to create a layout of it, right? So you can go in here and create this. But what you want to do is you want to, it gives you four, well, you know what? Let's just move this over here. You've got 4 maps right here. And the question asks, which of the following shows the correct map that you created? So we're going to move this back over here, take a look at this map, and you're going to compare this map, to one of those 4 in the quiz. I'm trying to think of a good way to tell you how to look at this, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll want to look at some of the more dense places and some of the less dense places and compare the number of dots, within those places, and then, just go back and forth comparing the two and figure out which one best represents it. It's pretty self-explanatory, not very difficult. And then in quiz question 3, it asks you, based on your map visualization, does areas with high motor vehicle thefts have high population density. It's just asking you to figure out. Uh, it's asking you to make a correlation. Does do areas with high motor vehicle thefts also have a high population density? Yes or no question. Um, I don't know shouldn't shouldn't be the answer, but it's pretty obvious to looking at the map to see what the answer is. So anyway, there's all that. So we're going to go ahead and move on to lab 3. You guys go ahead and answer those quiz questions. There's only 3 questions, so it shouldn't take you that long. And we're going to go into lab 3 now. And we're going to use graduated symbols. Graduated symbols, they range in size, right? As from, like small circles to big circles, graduated. And so it says graduated symbols map use proportionally sized symbols, such as circles or squares, to represent different ranges of values. This type of value allows you to visualize classifications by means of differently sized symbols. So we're going to do one more crime mapping project for this lab. We're going to use graduated symbols to map aggravated assault. So, we're going to go ahead and we can actually save this one if you want. I'm going to go ahead and save it. File, save as. We'll save this as lab 4_2. Save. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to start a new map document now. Click that, blank map. Okay, got a new blank map. In the instruction on number 2, it says add Texas County crime. Here we go. We know how to do this. There we go. We're going to add it twice, so we're going to go ahead and go back and do that again. There we go. Now it's on there twice. Rename the data frame to assault. You can right-click on this. I don't know if I've gone over this. I guess you can't rename it that way. The way I rename stuff is I'll click on it once and click on it again. You can rename it. Assault. There we go. Number 3 says open the attribute table of the Texas County crime layer in the assault data frame. Scroll to the right. Let's get it open first. Scroll to the right. And we're looking for aggravated assault 02. Here it is. It says right click and sort by descending. So it says this attribute represents the number of aggravated assaults for each of the 254 counties in 2002. We're using natural breaks classification to symbolize the data with 5 classes. You may need to widen this column. If you need to do that, you can just mouse over the edge, pull it out like that. I didn't need to do that, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so we're going to close the frame. Really, this is just, it's a good idea to take a look at your data first before you start classifying things. So we're going to close the table. And on number 4, it says in the table of contents, double click the Texas County crime layer to open its properties. And on the Symbology tab, we're going to click quantities and graduated symbols. In the fields frame, we're going to click the values arrow and go down to aggravated assault 02. And you can see here that there's 5 different graduated symbols. Like I said earlier, it goes smallest to largest. Just different sized circles. They represent these ranges. This circle is going to represent 0 through 198. This circle is going to do 199 through 604. So in the instruction on number 5, it says click the template button to open the symbol selector. In the symbol selector, click circle 1. Click the color chip Click poinsettia red. This ought to be fun to find. There's Mars red, there's poinsettia red. And we'll hit OK to close that. And so you can see that that changed it to, it didn't change the size, it just changed the color of all these. And so now we're going to, number 6 says click the background color chip to open the symbol selector. That's that right there. It's pretty easy. In the symbol selector, scroll down to Style Library and click the medium yellow symbol. Let's go find that. That's right here. And we'll click OK for that. So we've got a background that looks like that. Your dot template looks like that. So next we're going to adjust the symbol size to make the difference between the smallest and the largest symbols more apparent. And I'm on number 8 in the instruction. It says change the symbol size from 4 and 18 to 3 and 20 respectively. It's easy to do. We're just going to click that right there. 3 and 20. In the label column, that's this column right here. It says click 0 to 98, 198, and type less than 199. For the remaining labels, change the hyphen to 2. It's just easier to read words rather than, yeah, there we go. It's easier to read words than it is hyphens. So we're just going to go in and change all those to read 2, 2, and then we're going to hit OK once we've changed all those. Come on. There we go. Okay. And you can see the reason that we do this sort of thing is over here, you know, you don't have that hyphen right there. It just says 2, right? That's your label. Now, if we were to go back in here and look at the properties, Arcmap still recognizes it as a hyphen, but the label shows us how it's labeled over here, and that will actually show up in your you know, your legends if you make a legend for your map. This is, you know, the label is how it's going to read, not the range. So it says, now the map shows graduated symbols for each county. The table of contents shows the graduated symbol settings you made. Yep, we just went over that. So quiz question 1. Create a layout showing assault in the year 2002. Just did that. After following the steps in the instruction, which of the following figure shows the correct map? I'll bring this back over here, and we'll look at that, and all you got to do is figure out how you like that one. We're just going to figure out which of these 3, A, B, or C, corresponds with the map you just made. And so I'm going to bring this back over here. You'll just want to answer that question. Quiz question 2. Are a greater number of assault incidents located in counties with a higher population count? That's a question you need to answer, and you can use what we have previously done to show population counts. Remember, we've got, you know, you can go into here and symbolize according to population. How do we want to do this here? We'll do graduated colors. Value was going to be population. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into that symbology. This background, I'm going to change this to nothing, right? Now we can see population, these dots overlaid by population. I'm actually going to change this to a different. I don't want that red on there because that kind of, you know, you've got red on top of red. I'm going to do I don't know. We'll do this one. Yeah, much better. So we can see green, you know, underlays, you know, these things, and we've got it according to the populations in 5 classes. This isn't exactly how. I'm not going to keep going into it because you're supposed to utilize what you learned in the previous lab to do this, but you should be able to answer the question: are a greater number of assault incidents located in counties with a higher population count? Go ahead and answer that question, and then you are done with this section of the lab. Pretty easy stuff. Not nearly as long as the previous lab. This is only 40 minutes that I've been going on, but anyway, go ahead and go in and answer those quiz questions, and you should be done with just this section of the of this week's module.